In 1986, a newlywed Japanese couple went on their honeymoon in Naha, Okinawa. It was supposed to be a sweet and memorable trip, but it turned out to be a tragedy. The wife suddenly started sweating profusely, had convulsions, and her limbs went numb, and she was rushed to the hospital. But she did not survive. Initially, doctors diagnosed her with acute myocardial infarction. However, as time passed, many suspicious points appeared in the case and new clues led to the possibility that this could be a serial murder. All suspicions were directed at one person. But the suspect had a perfect alibi. His method of committing the crime was so meticulously calculated that people called him a criminal genius. So who was the killer? How did he commit the crime from afar? How did the police solve this mystery? You are watching Thrilling Story Channel, where we explore the most mysterious cases, the most thrilling stories that you may have never heard. And as usual, before learning about this mysterious accident, don't hesitate to leave a like. Click to follow the channel and turn on the notification bell to support us. And now, let's go back to 1986 to better understand this incident. On May 19, 1986, Mr. Shinakawa Riki, 47 years old, and his wife, Ms. Toshiko, 33 years old, traveled to Naha City, Okinawa. Before getting married, Toshiko worked as a waitress at the Ikeburo bar, and she met Mr. Shinakawa there. His elegant appearance made her fall in love, so the two quickly developed feelings and got married. After getting married, Toshiko moved to Osaka to live with her husband. They had just gotten married in February 1986 and started planning their honeymoon. Shinakawa suggested that his wife's best friend come along so that she could have more fun, since she had just moved to Osaka and didn't have many friends yet. This made Toshiko very happy. She thought her husband was very thoughtful and considerate. She invited 3 of her best friends to go with her, and the group planned to go to Ishigaki Island in Kuninawa at 11:40 on May 20th. As the group was about to board the plane, Shinakawa suddenly said that there was urgent business at the company and couldn't go with them. Toshiko was quite confused. But it had been a long time since she had a chance to hang out with friends, so she continued to go as planned. At around 1:30 p.m., the group arrived at the hotel. Not long after checking in, Toshiko suddenly felt unwell, sweating, nausea, trembling, difficulty breathing, and numbness in her limbs. Her friends immediately called an ambulance and took her to the nearest hospital. Unfortunately, when Toshiko was admitted to the hospital, her heart and lungs had stopped functioning. Despite the doctor's best efforts, her heart could not be revived and she eventually died at 3:04 p.m. That same day. Aoyama Hospital initially diagnosed Toshiko's death as an acute myocardial infarction. However, the attending physician noticed several abnormalities based on her condition before and after admission. Because they suspected that this was related to a criminal case, the hospital notified the Okinawa police to investigate. Meanwhile, Toshiko's friends immediately contacted her husband, Mr. Shinakawa. Not long after, Shinakawa quickly went to Ichigaki Island. The Okinawa police told him that an autopsy was needed, and Shinakawa was reluctant, but after a moment of hesitation, he agreed. The autopsy was quick, but found nothing unusual. The autopsy report stated that Toshiko died of a heart attack. The person who performed the autopsy was Professor Ono Yoshikazu from the Ryukyu University of Medicine. Both he and the attending physician at the hospital felt that something was unusual about the case. The professor discovered a small area of blood clot near Toshiko's heart, but her other organs were normal. According to the information collected, Toshiko had no history of cardiovascular disease and was in good health before being admitted to the hospital. So she could not have passed away so suddenly. The 3 friends who accompanied Toshiko always felt that something was wrong with her sudden departure. From the time they met at the airport until they checked into the hotel, Toshiko was still healthy, happily chatting with everyone, and had not heard of any health problems before. How could a completely healthy person suddenly pass away? All 3 friends believed that her departure was definitely related to her newlywed husband, Mr. Shinakawa. In fact, from the beginning, they felt that Shinakawa was shady. The first reason was that after getting to know Toshiko, he often gave her expensive gifts and proposed after only 6 days. It was too hasty and unusual. In addition, it was also very strange for a newlywed couple to invite the wife's best friend along on their honeymoon. Shinakawa once said that he was the president of a consulting company and had an accounting degree. Shinakawa, a man of such high social status, should have had many connections, but at his wife's funeral, only he and a few flowers from the companies he used to work for attended. This raised doubts about his true identity. Another important detail was that Toshiko's 3 friends recalled seeing Shinakawa give her a pill of unknown origin, claiming it was a health tonic. This made people suspect that he had intended to poison Toshiko beforehand. Because the day of the incident was so chaotic, after returning to Tokyo, the 3 friends remembered this important detail and immediately reported it to the police, hoping to reinvestigate the case as an assassination. However, the police at that time did not have enough evidence, so they did not believe the new testimony, nor did they conduct any investigation into Shinakawa. However, the 3 friends did not give up and decided to seek justice for Toshiko. They began investigating Shinakawa and discovered several suspicious things. First, when they looked up the list of accountants, Shinakawa's name was not on it. His claim that he was the president of a consulting company was a lie. In fact, he was unemployed and heavily in debt. The second suspicious point was that after marrying Toshiko, Shinakawa immediately bought insurance from 4 insurance companies for a total of 185 million yen, which is about $500,000 at the current exchange rate. He was the sole beneficiary, and the monthly insurance premium was up to $2,000. However, Shinakawa had no income and only paid the insurance premium once, so the purchase of insurance was very unusual. The third suspicious point was that after Toshiko passed away, Shinakawa quickly claimed compensation from 4 insurance companies. However, the compensation was too large and the insurance premium was beyond the ability of an ordinary person to pay. So the insurance companies began to suspect. The insurance companies rejected Shinakawa's claim because he had deliberately withheld his wife's medical records. In November 1986, Shinakawa sued the insurance companies and won the first trial. All this evidence raised suspicions that Shinakawa had conspired with his wife to steal the insurance money. The insurance companies, along with 3 of Toshiko's friends, cooperated and provided information to the media and the police. With everyone's joint support, the case attracted the attention of 2 major newspapers. After the media widely reported it, the case between Shinakawa and Toshiko became the focus of public opinion. The police department had to seriously investigate. During the investigation, they discovered many shocking clues. First of all, before marrying Toshiko, Shinakawa had been through 2 marriages. Surprisingly, both of his previous wives died in their 30s from myocardial infarction and heart failure. Just like Toshiko, Shinakawa's first wife was a nurse. They married in February 1965 and lived together for 16 years. However, in July 1981, his wife, then 38 years old, suddenly passed away at home. The cause of death report said she had a myocardial infarction. Since there was no insurance money involved, people did not suspect this case. In 1983, Shinakawa remarried. Less than 2 years later, in September 1985, his second wife fell ill after a family gathering and died in the hospital due to heart failure. This time, Shinakawa received 10 million yen, about 1.7 billion VND in insurance money. Just 1 month after his second wife passed away, Shinakawa met his third wife at a bar. After 6 days of knowing each other, Shinakawa proposed to his third wife, Toshiko. The 2 registered their marriage in February 1986. Shinakawa immediately bought insurance for his wife for a total of 185 million yen. In May of the same year, Toshiko died of an acute myocardial infarction while on her honeymoon. This series of cases related to insurance money attracted the attention of the police. However, it was difficult to investigate the real cause behind the deaths of the 2 previous wives. Toshiko's case was initially concluded as a result of her illness, so she was cremated. Due to the lack of direct evidence, the police were unable to arrest Shinakawa. In 1990, 4 years after Toshiko's death, the lawsuit between Shinakawa and the insurance company was still ongoing. Just when everyone thought that the appeal result would be similar to the first trial, a turning point occurred. When an important figure appeared, it was Professor Ono Yoshikazu, who had performed an autopsy on Toshiko. Professor Ono had been following the case for 4 years. During his research, he realized that Toshiko's symptoms before her death, such as severe abdominal pain, sweating, nausea, difficulty breathing, and paralysis of the limbs, were very similar to the symptoms of poisoning from a certain plant. the professor decided to send Toshiko's remaining blood sample to a specialized agency for toxicology testing. The results confirmed his prediction. In Toshiko's blood sample, people found the poison aconitine in the aconite plant. It is one of the most poisonous plants in the world. Just 3 to 5 milligrams of this poison can cause death. If eaten, this plant can cause symptoms such as vomiting, difficulty breathing, organ failure, and in severe cases, death. The most common cause of poisoning is usually biventricular fibrillation, or cardiac arrest. And this also explains why Toshiko was diagnosed with acute myocardial infarction. With the evidence, Professor Ono confirmed that the victim was poisoned, so Toshiko's case was officially converted to a murder case. Perhaps realizing that the situation was unfavorable, Shinakawa took the initiative to withdraw the lawsuit against the insurance company before the appeal hearing. On June 9, 1991, Shinakawa was arrested by the police on suspicion of embezzlement. An auto parts manufacturer accused Shinakawa of embezzling up to 340 million yen during his time working there. Although this incident was not directly related to Toshiko's assassination, it further strengthened the police's suspicions about Shinakawa's motive for the crime. The media began to widely report on the case involving insurance money and poison. Witnesses related to Shinakawa's poisoning of Toshiko also gradually emerged. The owner of a flower shop in Fukushima Prefecture testified that Shinakawa had purchased 69 pots of aconite from his shop, a quantity sufficient to extract the toxin that caused the deaths of several people. The landlord where Shinakawa rented the apartment also testified that the electricity and water bills in a certain month had increased abnormally. When the police searched the apartment, they found traces of aconitin poison in the mattress and some laboratory equipment. After collecting enough evidence, on July 1, 1991, the police arrested Shinakawa again on charges of murder and attempted fraud. However, Shinakawa had prepared countermeasures for these charges, and he also had a perfect alibi, so he was very confident. When he appeared before the media, he appeared very calm and comfortable. Shinakawa defended himself by saying that he bought the aconitin plant only for decoration. He also asserted that aconitin is a very fast-acting poison. Symptoms appeared within 15 to 30 minutes of exposure. Meanwhile, Toshiko only started feeling unwell 2 hours after meeting at the airport. He also claimed that he was at Naha Airport, thousands of kilometers away from Ichigaki Island. And he was not there when Toshio started showing symptoms. Now let's go back to the time when Toshiko started feeling sick, around 11:40 a.m., May 20, 1986. 3 of Toshiko's friends saw Shinakawa give her an unknown capsule. Right after their group met, if the capsule contained poison, Toshiko should have started feeling sick around 12:10 p.m. However, she was completely fine at that time. It wasn't until 1:30 p.m. that Toshiko started feeling sick. Let's go back to 1 p.m., 30 minutes before Toshiko started feeling sick. At this time, her father had just gotten off the plane with 3 friends, and Shinakawa was at the airport. So he had a clear alibi. Although the prosecutor presented a lot of circumstantial evidence, they lacked direct evidence. In particular, the prosecutor could not prove what method Shinakawa used to prolong Toshiko's poisoning. Even if Shinakawa was arrested, the prosecution could not formally file charges. In an interview, Shinakawa said that he had consulted experts about whether there was any kind of capsule that could stay in the stomach for more than 2 hours without dissolving. Unfortunately, such a powerful capsule does not exist, or is not produced in Japan, and it cannot be purchased on the market. In response, the prosecutor asked Chiba University to test the duration of the capsule's effect. The results showed that even if the capsule was made of multiple layers, the maximum effect would only last for 5 to 10 minutes. This seemed to support Shinakawa's argument. While the police were at a standstill, in October 1991 a new clue emerged. A fisherman told the police that a few years ago, a man resembling Shinakawa, who claimed to be an assistant professor, had bought more than 1,000 pufferfish. To investigate the connection between aconite and pufferfish, the prosecutor invited Professor Ono again. This time, he used modern analytical technology to test Toshiko's blood and found both Odo and K-NOC toxins. However, the puzzling thing was that the time of poisoning from both toxins did not last longer than 30 minutes. He could not explain why Toshiko showed symptoms 1 hour and 40 minutes after taking the pill. After searching for a lot of information, he found the answer in an English science journal. Professor Ono discovered that odotoxin and toxin can interact with each other. When both are used at the same time, the effect of aconite will be inhibited, creating an antagonistic effect. However, the toxin decreases faster than the aconite toxin. So when the toxin is gone, half of the aconite toxin remains, leading to poisoning and possibly death. During the trial, Professor Ono also confirmed that it is possible to adjust the ratio of aconite to pufferfish to weaken each other's effects. Experts confirmed that Toshiko's blood contained aconite toxin and pufferfish toxin. They also had evidence that Shinakawa purchased a large amount of aconite and pufferfish. The prosecutor pointed out that Shinakawa's home contained experimental equipment and capsules that Toshiko had used before her death. From this, it was inferred that Shinakawa extracted the poison of aconite and pufferfish and put them in capsules to commit his crime. Regarding the motive, the prosecutor said that Shinakawa was in debt. So he planned to defraud insurance, kill his wife, and have a quick marriage with the aim of withdrawing money. They also accused Shinakawa of starting to buy aconite and pufferfish since 1981. This means that the sudden death of his previous wives could also have been due to poisoning. Because the case was so serious, in 1994, the Tokyo Military Court sentenced Shinakawa to life in prison. Although the defendant did not admit guilt, Shinakawa repeatedly appealed the sentence and expressed dissatisfaction. In the 1998 appeal, the Tokyo High Court upheld the original judgment. Shinakawa then appealed to the Supreme Court. On February 21, 2000, the Supreme Court rejected his appeal and sentenced him to life in prison. The combination of aconite and pufferfish to create an antagonistic effect is very complicated. Even experts find it difficult to do. However, Shinakawa succeeded in doing this, although he only had a high school diploma. This is surprising. Shinakawa was born in 1939 in Sendai City, Miyagi Prefecture. He has an older brother who is 5 years older. His father was a professor at Tohoku University, and his mother was also an intellectual, and the family was relatively well off. However, everything changed when his father became involved in politics. When Shinakawa was in the 3rd grade, his father was arrested for political reasons and the family quickly fell into poverty. When he was in the 5th grade, his father was released and returned home, but his mother had a lover and left the family. When he returned home, his father did not care about his children, but only focused on political activities. His mother was later abandoned by her lover and returned home in a depressed state. Too tired, his mother took sedatives to end her life. This scene happened before Shinakawa's eyes. He witnessed his mother struggling and suffering before she passed away. He always blamed himself for being useless, which was why his family fell into such a situation. After the incident, Shinakawa's family was forced to live independently. In 1955, he took the entrance exam to Sendai Junior High School. After graduating, he planned to take the entrance exam to Tohoku University, but failed the exam and ended up with only a high school diploma. After that, his job also fluctuated, his financial situation was unstable and he was in debt. In this dire situation, he began to have bad intentions and took the path of crime. Shinakawa never admitted his crimes. While in prison, he also wrote 2 books trying to prove his innocence to the public. In the books, he described the details of the case and asserted his innocence. But what he said could not be verified. In 2012, 73-year-old Shinakawa ended his controversial life at a hospital in Osaka. What do you think about this cruel murderer? Leave your comments below to discuss. And before leaving, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to follow the next cases on the Thrilling Story channel.